I'm Emily Cole. I'm the programme lead for the Greater Manchester Housing First pilot, and welcome to our legislative theatre event, You Know Where the Door Is. So Housing First is a rights-based service, and it views housing as a human right, taking a different approach to the normal treatment first services. And we put co-production at the central of the programme and are committed to improving our services with people with lived experience at the heart of that. So we've commissioned today's legislative theatre event in order to raise issues that people on the programme could experience that we can support to address. So none of the actors have had experience of being on the Housing First programme, but they've all had experience of being homeless and encountered barriers when they've tried to get the help that they needed. So today we're really hoping we can generate some ideas to address these issues and that can be taken forward not only by the Housing First but by other services as well. So I really hope you enjoy today's event, and we are committed to taking forward all of the ideas that your input generate today.
Kid, let us decide to get paid tomorrow. Let us decide to get paid tomorrow. Kid, get paid tomorrow.
Hello, Thomas Plant. I've come from Housing Options.
Oh, hi Thomas. Yeah, we've had a phone call.
His chance has got a room here.
Yeah, we've had a phone call for Housing Options. Yeah, I'm Derek.
Oh right.
We run the hostel. We've got a bed space for you. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'll just take you in. Come in a minute. Yeah. So you'll be here for six to 8 months, and we'll look after you. You know, we'll find you somewhere to live after 6 to 8 months, maybe. I forgot what I wanted now.
So I've got a room here then?
Yeah, so we've got a room, you can just chill out. All we need to do is fill some paperwork in.
That's not a problem.
So we get our support elements and stuff like that. You fill the paperwork in, I'll take you to your room, you can just chill out.
Fantastic.
I'm your support worker, so I'm Derek, yeah? So anything you need, anything at all, come and see me.
You,
and I'll look after you.
Got it.
Yeah, you can be sorted now, mate.
Thank you.
Right, I'll just take you to your room. You just want to chill out, mate, and come to the office and you need to fill that paperwork in.
Okay, I'll down in a bit. Thank you.
See ya. It went blank then.
Yes, right, I know you called. Just hold on 1 minute. I just got to make a phone call. Hello, it's
How may I help you?
I just wondered if you could help. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I've just walked out. My boyfriend's been beating me up for the last few hours, and yesterday he hit the baby as well. I know I just can't go back.
Are you safe at this moment in time? Do you need the police?
We've been walking the streets for the last 3 hours, but the boys are getting really cold and hungry now, and I don't know what to do.
Listen, I'm going to have a taxi sent to you, and we're going to have to get you to a refuge to keep you and your children safe. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye. Take care.
Guys, we've got somewhere to go.
Come in.
Hiya, Derek about?
I'm on annual leave today.
Is there any way you can get in touch with him?
Where are your boundaries? You can't contact him when he's on annual leave. What can I do for you?
I hope you can help me. What it is, the little guy, the ginger hair, lives in the room opposite me.
Yeah.
It's over weekend when there's no staff on, and he's coming in, he's bladdered, singing IRA songs, kicking me door, threatening to do all sorts to me. It's happening every week. It's been going on for months.
He's lived here a long time. This is his pattern. You know, he has too much to drink. He gets loud. People ignore him, and he goes and sleeps it off. So that's what I suggest you do.
What? Just go back to my room and put up with it?
Yeah, just ignore him. And another thing is, what I have to ask is, he has been here a long time. No one else has complained about him. What's your role in this?
So I'm the catalyst in this. I'm the one who's wrong, not him.
It's just a bit of a coincidence. You move in and there's these problems.
It's not right, this, you know. You don't get any help off you.
Listen, I'm not one of these that's going to tiptoe around you. I'm going to tell you it exactly how it is. No one else round here would take you. We were good enough to take a chance on you, and if you don't like it round here, you know where the door is.
Oh, that old line, that's all you ever get when you come down here for any help. You know where the door is, we're not holding you prisoner.
Oh dear, been here 4 months now. Some of the women that come in here, you know, they're really messed up. It's really hard. Anyway, I hope I get someplace soon. Julie says she's going to sort me out. I hope she does.
Betty!
Oh, hi Julie, I'm just thinking about you. Yeah.
Oh, do you know, you were probably thinking about me because, well, I've worked so hard on your case.
Really?
Oh, I've had to pull all the stops out. It's took me all weekend, I've had to do overtime. I really have. Really pulled the stops out for you.
Everything you've done for me, Julie, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I've worked hard for it. Well, I've got you on the Housing First project. I've got you somewhere.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. I can't
Let's go and have a look at it. You can have it.
Go now?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, boys.
Come on. Let's go and look.
All right, Derek. I was going to come down and see you shortly.
Yeah, well, what it is, mate, I've had a phone call off Emily from Housing First.
Yeah, what it is, I've got a death.
Yeah, just let me stop you there, Tomo. Now you've been to see her for Housing First. You've gone for outside help. We're going to lose our support element. Do you know what I mean? So now, you know, we can't help you. I'm your support worker. I'm your support worker. I should have been sorting all that out. I couldn't get you somewhere to live, and you should have come and seen me. And now you're going to see outside help. We can't help you. You're going to have to pack your stuff up now and leave. Yeah, now. We can't help you no more. So, well, it is, you know, when they find out they've not done no tenancy, you're not tenancy ready, you've done no budgeting groups, and they found out how your attitude's been here, and how much rent you're in arrears. Nobody want nothing to do with it, because I'm going to have to write a report now.
You're going to kick me out and stab me in the back with the Housing First?
It's just how it is, mate, just how it is. So, what it is, you've got 15 minutes, pack your stuff up, come down to the office, hand your keys in, and pay your rent that you owe.
Don't believe this. Support worker, you proper screwed me over here. I've got one chance. My last chance this. Stevie! Tomo! Alright, mate, yeah. You know I told you I got a gaff with that crowd who took you in off the streets, Housing First. Yeah, I get my keys Friday. But what it is, man, it's, you know the hostel I'm in? They found out through the back door. Now they're kicking me out. They want the rent arrears what I owe them, and showing me the door. Yeah, what it is, I need a massive favour. No, it's not money. No. Can you have your sofa for 2 nights till I get my keys Friday morning, youth? Yeah? Oh, you dancer. I won't forget this, mate. You proper pull me out of this shit. On my way round there now, mate. Just grab my stuff. I'll see you in a bit.
So glad to be home. Come on, Daisy! Come on, Daisy! Come on, Daisy! Oh, Daisy! Come on, let's chill.
Out here. What's next? Who's up next?
Yeah, boys, quiet please. You got school tomorrow, don't forget. Oh, I wonder what's on telly. Oh, it's Corrie tonight. Oh, great. Oh, dear me.
Yeah. 5-0, yeah. What the fuck?
What do you want?
That's not 5-0.
I just moved in.
It's not 5-0, go flush your drugs!
No, we haven't.
What?
I've just moved in next door. And
Oh, you're having
it's like
this?
Sunday night, and my little boy is just like 5. He's going to
Little
start
boy,
school
what's
tomorrow.
Another one with vetted. They're not vetted.
All sorts coming here now.
Yeah, we don't fit in.
Something like that.
From Bury.
From Bury?
Why don't
From
you
Bury?
back down to Bury then?
Please. Just
Listen, love, it's weekend. This is what we do round here. We live our lives. We party.
Countryside
You don't
here,
fit
mate.
in.
Countryside.
Come on, boys, let's crack on.
Oh my God, I think I got about 10 minutes last night. Oh well, Julie's coming today. Maybe she'll help. I'll just get the Hoover out and get it tidy up.
Hi,
Hello.
what it is, I'm Matt. I work in the same team as Julie. Well, Julie did do. Very unfortunately, Friday afternoon, she says to us, got a new job, start Monday. So I looked on the system today, seen what she had on, seen you were due a home visit, so I thought I'd come and introduce myself.
Oh, sorry, you've just really took me by surprise. Like, I just really,
I am, as
I've
a
got a
bad
relationship
show,
with Julie. She's so nice.
Oh yeah, I know, she's lovely, isn't she? But to reassure you, I am a professional, you know, I'm not all DBS checked and vetted.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, come on in then. Sorry, would you like to sit down?
So, we gave you like everyone, we gave you a list of things that were available in the local neighbourhood when you moved in, GPs, schools, that kind of thing. So, I trust you're settling in well.
Yeah. My son started school
Oh,
today.
fantastic.
Yeah. He was a little bit tired though. Had a bit of trouble with the neighbours last night.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Ah, no, there's been music on all night long.
Oh, have you been round to speak to him about that when you've got young children doing things like that?
I did, but I don't want to cause trouble or anything. You know, it's all right. No, yeah, she wasn't that approachable, but you know, it's like.
Well, the thing is, in my experience, how should I say this? When I work with people, a lot of people like you that are downtrodden because you know you've been a victim, and you start telling yourself you've not got rights, but you've got the right. You know, there's rules against this type of thing, noise pollution, all that type of stuff. You know, you stick up for your rights. But anyway, I think there's something in the list around tenancy disputes, but it's not really the reason why I've come round today. I think you're really, really going to like this when you find out what I'm going to do with you today.
All right, okay.
So,
Yeah.
I've got with me a really, really powerful tool, and it's called the Life Goals Worksheet. And the what we do with this is we work with a lot of people that that are in that victim mentality, and they think that services are there to do everything for them, and it really disempowers them, and it really stops them from doing the things that they're capable of doing themselves. So what I want you to do is I want you to identify all the things you want to achieve in life, and then how you are going to take personal responsibility, and you're going to go out and achieve those things. You say to yourself, Betty, yes I can.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they want to fill it all in.
Every bit, and just like kind of
Yeah, do you
like
know
a
what?
vision for how your life could be if you just get yourself out of this victim mentality.
Yeah,
that's
I suppose at the moment I've only just thought after today, you know what I mean? But yeah.
but
Yeah, I suppose it
the
could-
world's your oyster.
Okay, suppose
So
it could
yeah,
work.
anyway, I am going to have to leave it there because I've got some other people to go and inspire. I've got a lot on now. So yeah, but it was
Alright.
fantastic to meet you.
I got on it straight away. Yeah, great.
Oh, great, yeah.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.
Oh my God, what am I going to do with all this? Oh well, I'll go and give it a try.
managed to meet Betty. Yeah, no. Oh yeah. Really powerful intervention. And I got her to see how she's been trapped in that victim mentality, and now she's gonna get herself out of that and empower herself. Oh yeah, no, I know I'm good at that. Yeah, okay, I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, I'm in. Got me gaff this morning, got the keys. Yeah, got a little gift package off Housing First, a welcome pack. Dude, I'm gonna have to go, there's somebody at my door. I'll ring you back.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm landlord. Who are you?
I met my landlord this morning, I got my keys off him.
No, I'm
Housing
landlord.
First?
No, I'm landlord of this property.
You own the gaff?
Yeah, it's my house.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I've just come down to do a check on it. I didn't realise you're moving in this quick. So all I had to do is just do a quick check, yeah? Make sure everything's all right.
It'll have to be, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll just have a walk round. Stuff. Oh, you can't be having stuff like that on the wall.
What,
That's
the
going to have to
poster?
come down. Yeah, you can't be putting nails and posters up on the wall where we knew it.
What about me
We've
pictures?
just had it all decorated. You know, it costs money, that. You know, so all that taken off. You allowed it on your windowsill and on the mantelpiece, but apart from that, you can't do it. Brand new carpets in here as well, so are you getting furniture?
Not yet, no, but there's a charity helping
Well,
me
just
out.
when you do get your furniture, can you make sure you don't mark the walls or scuff the floors, because brand new carpets and floors.
Yeah, I
no.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and please don't leave stuff lying about. no,
It was a gift package from Housing First.
Yeah,
a
well,
welcome pack.
Yeah, well, what it is, we don't usually accept your type of people, you know. So we've just done it because of what is incentives. That's all. So we don't want any drug users around. You know what I mean? We don't want police coming to the door.
Mate,
Stuff like
don't
that.
believe it,
Have
eh?
you got one of them yellow boxes?
No, it's not. It's nothing
You know, for
about
your noodles
that.
and stuff.
I'm not a street urchin. You've got it all wrong, mate. I'm trying to turn my life around.
Oh, it's about time, innit? Right, well, I'll just do a quick check, make sure everything else is... bit of mould there,
Well,
we'll just...
I haven't done it.
I know we haven't. Just saying a bit, we'll cover it up, it'll be alright. Yeah, everything else seems alright. I'll get off then.
You can see yourself out. You let yourself in, didn't you?
Yeah, cheers.
Hi, my name's Matt. I'm a housing. Still
Hello.
looking after we answered what's Hi, my name's Matt. I'm one of the Housing First team. I'm just checking in with you because we do, for all the landlords that are on the scheme, we do a bit of a weekly check-in, and I believe, looking at my list, you've got Thomas, is that right?
Oh yeah, Thomas. Oh yeah, I've just met him actually. We've just been round to the house. I didn't expect him being in this early.
Oh yeah. Ordinarily, I would have been there with him, or someone from the team would, but really don't want to get off on the wrong foot. So yeah, ordinarily, if we could just like arrange to see him together, and, you know, that's why we have these check-ins.
Yeah, well, you know, I didn't know that, you know, and I just turned up on off chance. I didn't realise we were moving in this quick. So yeah, I've just seen the guy. Anyway, he seems really nice lad. You know, it seems really well kept, and I've just made sure the property were all right. Yeah, so yeah, seems like we're going to get on fine.
Right, great stuff. So yeah, we'll carry on like this from here on in. Sorry, yeah, there's been some changes in the team, and I'm having to pick up quite a lot. But anyway, that's not your problem. We'll carry on like this from here on in.
Okay, is that it then? Because I've got to get on. Pretty busy, me, you know.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, I'll speak to you again
All right,
next week.
cheers, bye.
Hi, I've got an appointment today. It's Betty Willow, or it might be Elizabeth.
Betty Willow, yes. Please some forms in for me before you see the doctor. Please fill that one in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
yeah.
Please fill that one in. Make sure you fill it in properly.
Okay,
Yeah, you know you fill that one in.
okay, yeah.
That one. Oh, you might as well fill that one in while you're at it.
Oh, right, oh my God, there's a lot, isn't it? Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Make sure you fill all them boxes in. If you don't tick enough boxes, you'll be classed as not suitable. Tick them all.
Okay, thank
What
you.
it is, I'm new to the area. I just got my flat this morning actually, picked the keys up. The local drug and alcohol team was supposed to have emailed or forwarded all my details to the doctors. He said if I turn up this morning unannounced sort of thing, that there's a chance I might be able to get an appointment.
Oh, no, I'll be very, very busy. What's your name again?
It's Thomas Plant.
Thomas Plant. Yeah, I can't see anything.
Tomo.
Through. I'll just phone through to the doctor. Well, I'll just pop in and see the doctor and see what he's got to say. Do you want to take a seat a minute?
If you would. Hi, love.
Come in.
Doctor, we've got another one of them who's been sent over and we've not
Oh, from the drug services again.
Yeah.
Oh,
He wants to see you today.
yeah.
I told you, did they?
And you know how I ordinarily feel about queue jumpers, but at the moment I'm getting so much pressure put on me about this practice needing to be more flexible with these homeless drug addicts, and yeah, so I best see him. Yeah, best send him
Right,
in.
all right then. I'll send him in. Thomas, you know the doctor will see you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The door's on the right.
Thank you. That's fantastic. That. Cheers, love.
Come in.
Morning, doctor.
Hey, Thomas, take a seat. Dr. Diablo, can't shake your hand, COVID. So, what is it that I can do for you today?
What it is, I'm new to the area. I just got my own place this morning, got the keys this morning. I'm struggling, and I'm really got problems, you know. And what it is, if you could just give me something.
Let me just stop you there. Just looking at your records, actually. I do not prescribe benzodiazepines or barbiturates. I think it's best to tell you now.
Doctor, them words never left me lips. All I want is just a bit of help to get me through these first...
It's just that most of you people give me a long story about why you need more drugs. So yeah, good on you if you're not doing that. But you know that's what my experience has been.
It's 4 weeks this I've been sorted.
Yeah, it's not really long enough because what we still don't know at the moment is if you've got a genuine mental health problem or this is just still the after effects of the substances. 4 weeks isn't enough for us to know.
You're kidding me, aren't you?
No. So
what are you going to do?
What I'm going to suggest is if you come back in 6 months' time and you've remained abstinent through all that time,
6 months?
We'll look to sort something out. Yeah.
Come back in 6 months?
And another thing is that, in my experience, a lot of drug users relapse, and then you relapse, stop turning up for appointments. You know, someone genuine out there could be missing out because of that.
That was the only way I'm trying to turn my life round. Come back in 6 months? Are you freaking mad?
As I say, I have to look after everyone, you know.
Stick your practice up your ass. I could be dead in 6
there's
months.
No need for that.
Piss off.
Have you completed them forms yet?
I have, yeah, I've done them all, front and back.
Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. I think the doctor will see you now.
All right,
It's
so
just the door there on the right.
okay. Hi. She told me to give you these.
Oh, thank you. Elizabeth.
Yeah, but they call me Betty if you want to call me Betty.
Betty, that's smashing. Fine. I see you filled our forms out and ticked all the boxes. Just a
There's
few.
a lot of boxes in there.
Yeah. Just a few quick personal questions. They are a little personal.
Okay.
Do you have a history in the family of mental health problems?
No.
Do I see that you've just left a rather abusive relationship of 6 years. How are you feeling? No thoughts of self-harm, suicide, anything crazy like that?
No, I'm down, but no, I would never leave my boys. No, they mean too much to me. I've gone through too much to do anything like that.
I see here that you have started to have a couple of drinks of night.
Yeah, I've just been struggling with this. I'm having really bad nightmares and everything, and it's really getting hard. So I don't want to have a drink, but it's just a couple of lagers at night, you know, just to try and help me to sleep.
We tend to find that it perpetuates the problem, the alcohol use.
Well, that's why I've come for help.
Okay, that's encouraging. I see you're suffering with insomnia as well, so the drinking's not actually helping with the sleep.
Well, no, but it just, like, takes the edge off, you know.
Well, what I'll have to do this morning, Betty, is these forms will have gone upstairs to our management team, and they'll assess those, and on a points scale, they'll get back to me, and I'll just give me 5 minutes if you go back into the waiting room, and I shall ring my colleague upstairs, and we'll see whether we can actually help you this morning,
Right,
Betty.
thank you.
Not a problem.
He told me to just wait.
Is that Martin? Yes. Martin, it's Brian from downstairs.
Hi,
I've just had a
Brian.
young lady in, mother of 2 young children, Elizabeth, Willow. Have you got the forms that...
I've got the forms in front of me, yeah.
she's
Betty
filled
Willow.
out the questionnaires and ticked several of the boxes. Off my initial brief meeting with her this morning, she doesn't quite meet the practice criteria. It's a case of too many boxes in one column and not enough boxes ticked in the other. So I just wondered whether we could bend the rules slightly and offer this young lady some help.
Oh, bend the rules slightly. I'm afraid we don't do that for anyone. You know, if we let one in, we're going to have to let them all in. Looking at her notes here, you know, she's not suffering with major mental health.
No.
You know, and we have criteria we have to stick to at this
I understand.
practice. And we only get funded for certain people. And if they're not in that bracket, then there's nothing we can do to help them. And we've hit us numbers for this month, so you know we can't really accept any more people. So we're going to have to knock them back anyway, even if they do get into that bracket. So there's nothing else we can do, mate. Send her back to a doctor to get some happy pills.
Well, that's not the attitude I think she wants to experience it from the practice.
Well,
but,
no, I mean, we come across these things in life, don't we? And I'm quite busy. I'm the practice manager.
Well,
so
thank you for your time. Could you send Betty back through, please?
No problem, Doctor. Betty, the doctor will see you again now.
Okay, thank you.
Hi again, Betty.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, I've spoken to my colleague upstairs in the management department. We find ourselves today that we're unable to offer you any practical help this morning. But
What?
on the other hand, there is an alternative. I could refer you to Healthy Minds. There is a waiting list of about 4 to 6 months. But
6 months?
this, I'm afraid, it's quite in demand, the service.
You don't understand, you know. I've done everything that everybody's asked me. I have gone to this place and then I've come here for some help. You know, I'm really struggling.
I understand that you've
6
transformed your life since you left your violent partner.
Yeah,
and
no.
Just wish
you know
that
what?
there's something that we could do to
Yeah,
facilitate
it's
it.
okay, don't worry about it, I get it. Right, forget about it.
I'm so sorry.
Ex-prisoner, they ain't going to help me. I know where the door is.
Right, we'd just like to introduce ourselves. I'm Judith, and this is...
I'm Neil.
I'm Matt.
I'm David.
And now...
Me now.
Yeah.
See you now.
Right, so
Thank you.
thank you. So now you've seen the play. This is where you guys join in. So did anyone on Zoom, because I can't see who you are, does anyone on Zoom see any problems?
There's loads. People are putting things in the chat as well, guys. Just congratulating you on your acting skills to begin with. But as we were going through, there were tons of things that everyone was noticing that were really kind of standout points in time that weren't right, really. So I'm sure that there are people willing to share their thoughts on that.
So Rosa, unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Rosa.
Okay. Rosa, go ahead.
Hi. Well, I think there were lots of problems, but it seemed to me like the biggest one is just the way that everything is siloed and people are not being treated like whole human beings. It's like you either fit into this box or into that one, and there's no flexibility between them. And then people are kind of patting themselves on the back thinking they've done a great job, but not really listen to the person and what they really need and want, and what kind of support they do need. Like, yes, of course, we need to be able to, take some ownership of our experiences in our lives, but especially at certain points in our lives, people need that support. It's not disempowering, it's how to get people into a more empowered situation. And all you're doing is giving them a list to go through and tick and decide how they can help themselves. Well, it doesn't feel very supportive, does it?
So was this in particular then the scene with my alter ego, the other Matt? I'm not like that in real life.
Yeah.
And Betty, is that the scene we're talking about?
Oh yeah, I mean, that was definitely one of them, but I think it kind of similar issues mirrored in almost all of the scenes, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rosie, are you willing to try something out? Are you willing to, if you were Betty in that scene, are you willing to try something out, try something different?
Yeah, I hadn't quite thought yet about what I would do differently, but I can think quickly.
Give her a second. We can have some more ideas first. Should we give her a second? Yeah. Someone else?
Has anyone got any more ideas of or seen any more?
Do you want to say what they're writing?
What we discussed before was the people from poor areas.
I can't believe how many problems they found.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, we've got a comment here. It says, "I love the conditioning that helps us focusing on ticking boxes." We've also got a comment here saying, and I think this was referring to when he was in the doctors and he was asking for medication. It was saying, and the expectation he should just continue suffering until a time someone deems them genuine. We have the lack of dual diagnosis is an issue. Imagine getting to the point that you pluck up the courage to ask for help, and then this.
Brilliant.
Keep going, Polly.
Yeah. Did anyone else want to raise hands?
Anyone else on Zoom?
Hannah?
Hannah? Did you say Hannah?
Yeah, Hannah, do you want to unmute yourself if you...
I was just hoping to get away with just typing in the box. Do you mean? I always get put on the spot with these things. Yeah, I just put in the comments box that we hear, or I certainly hear personally from my end far too often around how we bend the rules, and what we tend to find is then we have really good passionate staff that work around the system, and really we need to start using that as that evidence to obviously implement change and how we commission those services in the future.
Anyone else?
Good point.
Anyone else? One got hands up.
Oh,
There's one there.
One in the middle.
go ahead, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Unmute.
Yeah,
Unmute,
can
Ashley.
everybody hear?
There's a lot of referencing straight from the up that I think is really apparent in many different services, all the way through, in terms of sort of, we've done you a favour and you should be grateful for this opportunity. Not many other people are going to give you this opportunity. And I think that's still quite relevant sort of today. I think back in the day it was almost sort of expected, whereas it's still happening. And I hear this quite often sort of with the other services, obviously, that we work, and what the difference for me today is when you're actually in that, because it is quite something that you hear quite often, it's something that you sort of disengage yourself from. But to sit here today and actually see that be played out sort of in front of you, and to get that shock factor from it, and obviously all the comments then were coming in of, oh, we've done you, you've done, and how bad that is. But yet when you hear that in every day, it's almost something that you've become immune to hearing, because obviously it's something that you hear often, which is something that I think definitely needs to change.
Any that we didn't catch?
Yeah, any more?
I've got one more, if you can hear me, which is the position that people are asked to trust their support workers, and to disclose things to them when they often have got a very short-term relationship with them, and a lack of any security in that space. So I thought it was really notable when one of the workers, said, I'm going to help you out with everything, anything you need, come to me. And then when he was on leave, there was no way of that individual receiving support. And then likewise, when Matt, you took over from somebody else and then immediately kind of jumped in with, this is the kind of support that you need, and this is what I can offer you. It's a really, it felt really exposed. It felt like people were being put in really vulnerable positions and being asked to trust people that actually hadn't demonstrated that they could be trusted with that, and happening kind of time and time again. It reinforces why, people often, we say, don't engage with services because they don't think that these people are going to be around for very long, or they don't think that actually they can trust them because it's not been demonstrated previously. I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
Paddy's got something on the mic. Thanks, Paddy's got something.
Yeah. It was just following on actually from the comment that was just made really. Early on, Ellen had a brilliant comment where she said, with regards to that inspiring speech you give, Matt, your motivation, your plan of action, and it was, Ellen has said she's seen loads of that kind of thing where a worker decided something is their thing and then just want to look for and make opportunities to prove themselves regardless of the person's needs or strengths.
Yeah.
We've got Sharon, I believe. Sharon Hambry's raised her hand.
Yeah, I think what struck me most is the kind of lack of professionalism and the real lack of empathy and human, speaking to some people on a human level. It was just really lacking. I don't know whether that was exaggerated. I'm sure it was for the purpose, but to think that people are being spoken to like that is really disgusting, isn't it? And is there something about training and pressure that staff are under around that? And that really struck me, really did.
Yeah, definitely.
I can assure you that's not exaggerated, though. The way to speak to you.
Carl's waving. Carl.
Carl.
Oh, hi. Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, Carl.
Absolutely fantastic performance. I'm blown away by it. I have to say, you should all get Oscars, in my opinion. But I think it's looking at the wider picture in terms of attitudes and behaviour being based on skewed culture and values. I wrote some things down, I'm just reading it. It highlights a lack of empathy, understanding, care, kindness, compassion. Sometimes I get the impression that staff are having to work in spite of their organisation, the employers that they're working for, to provide a good service, although you've shown the other side of that. But the performance shows how staff and organisations working with vulnerable people sometimes have that them and us attitude, lots of back patting, and I think you brought that across really well, Martin, your alter ego. I have to say, you did it too well, in my opinion. And that power and knowledge is owned by providers, or seen to be so, and that learned experience is not valued and accepted. And if it is, doesn't happen often enough. But well done, fantastic.
So Helen's got had a hand raised for a while. If we take Helen's question.
Hiya, well done everybody, absolutely brilliant and quite funny as well. Some of it very not funny obviously, but I think a couple of people in the comments mentioned the power dynamics are going on, such as with the landlord just being able to walk in and things like that, and trauma has been mentioned as well. And just for me, what was stark, I think, across all those scenes is how the people asking for help were absolutely at the mercy of somebody. Like, the basic needs, the things that they're asking for are just in the palm of someone else's hand, and that kind of dynamic itself is just so traumatizing. And then you've got, sometimes you've got a worker like in the middle who perhaps wants to do the right thing, and then they're speaking to their superior, and you can see how culture kind of grows, can't you, within services, looking at scenes like that, and the person in charge, you sort of say, oh, if we do that, we'll let them all in, and all that kind of language. And you can see then how that sort of thing gets normalized over time. And going back to that point that someone else talked about, that I wrote about, workers kind of feeling the need to prove themselves. And in a way, there's a similar dynamic there, and that's how the system the hierarchy of the system gets people to kind of do its bidding, if you like, and kind of how if we're all of us in it, can end up kind of falling into those sorts of behaviours where we're trying to keep our job, we're trying to, be seen as good employees and in the eyes of our employer, and that might mean things like, I'm the best motivator, or I'm really good at challenging those clients that are really difficult. That's one I've seen a lot. And then you're just trying to win prizes for doing stuff like that, and it just takes it away from the person all the time. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, so brilliant. So everyone's experienced seeing them problems. So has anyone experienced any of them problems within whether you work or? Is it
nods of head?
Yeah, quite a few nods of heads.
Oh, can you raise your hands if you have? So yes. Or have you experienced any similar problems to them? Have you ever felt that you couldn't get something because of who you was? Raise your hands if you have. Brilliant, yeah. So, what's next, Evelyn?
So breakout rooms to talk to your neighbour about what you
Right.
do.
So, as you've seen in the play, you've all recognised the problem. So, I want you to get into. You're going to go into some group rooms now, into pairs. I want you to get one problem each, and see what you could do differently with that problem. So I want you to play the role of Betty or Tomo, and see what you could do differently to change the situation to make it a positive outcome, or a different scenario, different situation.
Come up with an idea.
And you're going to have 1 minute each, so we've got a couple of minutes. We want one each from you. That's okay.
Something different that the person with the least power in that situation could have tried, or something different that could have been tried in that situation.
Okay, go.
But yeah, we don't like last time when the people did better versions of the worker. We don't want that. We only want things that can change from the person with the least power.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Betty or Tomo.
Going. Yes. Great, and we'll send them a message in the group. It's okay. So you can do it. So do that. And then,
Oh, bless her.
so give each person.
My Auntie Margaret's on there, but she's thinking, I can't do it. She's getting bigger. She's
to share one idea. What would you do?
Bless her.
You don't join a room. The rooms are in threes, so they won't be alone if you don't join.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't join a room. Yeah. Don't join a room.
That lady there's my Auntie Margaret. She might not go in one of the
Okay.
rooms.
It's awesome. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Who's the forehead?
Is everyone
All right,
in?
you're here.
Everyone here?
Hello.
Yeah.
Top left corner.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right, so has everyone got one, yeah?
There we go.
Mine have
Yeah.
gone.
So what
Because,
have you know?
So,
who wants
yeah,
to? Yeah.
Who wants to raise the hand if they've got something that they want to try out from one of the characters with the least powers perspective?
Come on. Whee.
Come on, be brave. Be brave. That's housing first hashtag, isn't it? Be brave.
Come on.
Come on. Else we'll just pick you out.
Oh, no. Oh,
Yeah, just
Emily,
say,
you're
raise,
asking.
raise your hand
Yeah.
if you got something you want to try out.
Otherwise, we'll
So
call
no
it.
one's got one they want to try out.
No.
I have to say, we did talk about, we did find it quite difficult to think what Betty and Tomo should have done differently, because we felt that in all of those scenarios, the professionals should, or the workers should have acted differently, and the offer should have been different.
But you can't get the workers to act like that in real life. So you'll have to come up with some sort of way to.
You can bring in any third party that you want into that. So if you think a third party is going to make someone more accountable, Esme, are you going to give it a go?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to say my suggestion. You could. I'm not sure you don't have to make me out.
Don't say it,
Matt. But I do agree with Molly that I personally felt like I wasn't sure that it was their responsibility. However, I think
right. What's your name? Esme.
Yeah, hi.
You're gonna have to play it out, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Okay.
We did this with Molly on the Housing Action Network. As soon as you speak, that's Chris Woodward, are you volunteering to play something out?
Yeah.
Does that mean that I don't have to?
Come on, Chris, wherever you are. Where is it?
See how you feel after Chris going, Esme.
Yeah.
I will go with my idea.
Right, come on then. Let's have you.
Esme first, then Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So what do you want us to do?
Esme, which scene is it?
Which scene is it?
When Matt goes to see Betty at the house.
So,
yeah.
Matt,
And he says,
you're going to play Betty. You're going to play
Yeah, I'm
Betty.
gonna play Betty.
You need anyone else to join you as like?
I need Matt to knock on the door. Yeah.
Right. So okay.
Where's my scroll
Ding
gone?
dong.
Name my prop.
See what?
Just use that, Matt.
Yeah.
Props.
I'll just
use that as always. Oh, it's there.
There it is.
There it is.
I'm not sure you're going to need the list actually, but okay.
He's getting the list.
Gonna tell me to where to go before I even get in, I think, probably. But anyway, let's try.
All right.
3, 2, 1, action.
Ding dong.
Hello.
Hiya. What it is, my name's Matt. I work in the same team as Jackie, or the team that Jackie did work in. Unfortunately, just told us on Friday afternoon I'm starting a new job on Monday. So I checked on the system, saw you were due a home visit today. I am a DBS check vetted member of staff. So yeah, I've come to do this home visit myself.
Right. Okay. Well, I really wish you'd have called in advance, because that would have made me feel a bit more comfortable. So it's nice to meet you, Matt. But is it all right if you come back another time when it's better for me?
Yeah, sure. Can do that. Yeah.
Have you got my mobile number?
I'm being told I need to be tougher now. But like I will be your housing. We could do that, but I will be your housing first worker from now on. It's just there's not enough people in the team for it to be anyone else.
That is okay, but I would prefer it that we arranged a different time, because I'd already met Helen, I think, or Jackie. I don't know who it was, and I had a good relationship with her. But is it all right if you've got my telephone number? We can arrange something else so that I feel better, and maybe we can meet somewhere else.
I said we could, but yeah, it's unfortunately I will. Time's ticking on. I could really just do with putting down on the system that I've seen you today, even if we just have like a 5-10 minute like hi-bye appointment. Just really want to get something on the system to say we've done what we're supposed to do.
You can put it on your system, but I'd rather us arrange something properly another time, please.
Right. Okay. Reluctantly.
Chris next. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So first of all, we go into so this is a question that's open to everyone. What did Esme try there to change that power dynamic between her and the worker? Yeah, you can either raise your hand to come off mute, or you can type it in the chat, and our wonderful helpers will
production
read
team.
out.
We've had a comment from Joe Prestige about her asserting her boundaries.
Yeah, and what was the so what was the outcome of Esme asserting her boundaries? What changed about that situation?
We've got that it made it on her terms.
Yeah, definitely made it on her terms. Now we're going to look into like what would have made that difficult for Betty. What could have got in the way of Betty being able to do that?
Can't believe nobody won.
It was tough and scary, honestly.
Yeah, we've got a fear of losing her support, or fear of the system, fear of losing the place in the queue, feeling that she has to accept what is offered to her.
Yeah.
And being in need of help makes it very difficult to be assertive sometimes.
Yeah, spot on.
Definitely, yeah. These are all the kind of the points raised from people whose story that was, particularly that around confidence levels and anxiety levels. So are there any barriers that the system puts in place that stops people being able to do what Joel did and assert their boundaries and have things on their terms? So we talked about what barriers Betty has. What other barriers are there in the system?
Lack of training for the worker.
There's a lot of conditions that are put on people. It's very conditional kind of services rather than being about relationships.
Yeah. It's also about the expectations placed on the worker to tick a box, to fill a form, to put something on a database system so they've done their job, so they can keep their job, and their vulnerability and fear in the situation in terms of insecure employment and short-termism. So there's the absence of, so they're as at risk and as vulnerable as the other person, and actually their vulnerability of getting their box ticked and, oh my goodness, I'm going to get into trouble with my manager, and the team's going to look, I haven't done X, Y, and Z. So it's about what are we counting and what is actually important. And I think that goes out to commissioners. What is important here? The number of times someone is visited or the quality of the visit?
Fantastic. And we want you to bear all these things in mind when we move into the next section after the break about policy ideas. So stuff that addresses that, like kind of system level stuff. Chris Woodward, are you still willing to step up? What scene are you talking about? Thanks Esme as well.
Thank you.
Always really difficult to be the first one that steps up, so thanks a lot, Esme.
Chris?
Matt, so, sorry, I think I got that wrong. I was just going to jump in before saying something different that that could have been tried. So I was probably, you moved on from that, to be honest. But
what scene was that though, Chris?
The thing, in our group, we said, we thought...
No, what scene was it at? What scene?
Oh, sorry, what scene? It was the one, Tomo.
So Tomo and... Where were Tomo's worker or doctors or...
Yeah, where he went in and where they were just told basically, they were fobbed off basically. And just said, right, you're going to come back in after 6 months.
Right, so that's seen at the doctors then.
Yeah. Yeah, and
so
we were just Yeah, I wasn't going to play it. I was just a comment that said, that we had.
So
he's not saying it, what?
Do you want to try that out with the doctor, like the thing that you thought could be different? You want to try that out from Tom Hall's position? And as I say, if you need to bring in, like as Katie said before, if you need to bring in God, you can do. Obviously not literally, but you can bring in anyone into that scenario that you think is going to change the power dynamics, anyone or anything.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay. So,
just a note thing.
Yeah. All right, can we pin Chris? We can see if that was helpful. All right, Chris, are you ready as Tomo?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, is this where you're just starting your appointment? Do you want to go from the beginning of your appointment, or after he said we can't see you right now?
Sorry, I can't hear very well.
Sorry. Okay. Do you want to go from the beginning of the appointment, or after the clinician said we won't be able to see you for 6 months?
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Where we said I won't be able to see you for 6 months.
Great. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, action.
So the thing is, Thomas, because we don't know at this stage whether it's a genuine mental health problem or just like an after effect of your substance abuse, we're going to ask you to come in 6 months after you've been abstinent for 6 months, and if you're still experiencing the same issues, then we'll look at it.
Hang on, can I stop you there, Doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I want to do is, I'm not being funny, but I've heard all this before. I want to speak to the person who's made that decision.
I'm going to bring Mr. Marty Pants into the situation then. So, Mr. Marty Pants, Thomas isn't very happy with our criteria about...
Oh, right. So you're not happy with our service?
No, I didn't say that. I said I just want to speak to the person who's made that decision.
Yeah, well, I'm the practice manager.
You can't see me for 6 months, and how is that helpful?
That's just our company rules. What we stick to. You see, that's what we have to go by. So it's not, it's just a system policy.
Well, you're just sitting behind that system, using that. I'm asking you, can you see me as a human being sat in front of you? I'm almost.
I can see you as a human being. I can see you as a human being. Yeah, I can see you as a human being.
You're not seeing me as a human being.
We have policies and procedures to stick to. We can't just bend the rules just for anyone. So that if we
I'm not asking you to bend the rules just for me. I'm asking you to rethink and say, actually, perhaps the way that you're going around things is unhelpful.
I understand that.
Why have you made that decision that you can only see me in 6 months? How is that helpful?
Because we don't know if it's the drugs talking still, or if if it's the mental illness taking over.
I'm telling you, it's not the drugs talking. It's me talking to you as a human being.
I know. Well, you might think that, but it might be the drugs talking, or
No. Hang on. I don't think I am a human being, and I want to know why you've made that decision.
With all due respect, Thomas, me and Dr. Marty Pants have done 7 years at medical school to make the expert calls like that. So I think that we've got the expertise to say that this could still be the drugs.
Follow this range. Well, I think you've wasted 7 years then, because you're not listening. You're not prepared to listen to what I've got to say. You're not treating me as a human being. And I'm not quite sure why you're in that job. And I think, if that's you, you're leaving me with no alternative. So I'll just hope that you can go back to bed and sleep well tonight.
Oh, we shall sleep very well.
Chris Rock was amazing! Well, honest to God, well done.
Nice one.
Thanks, Chris. I'll get back in the position. So, again, huge thanks. I know how difficult it is to step in and, act these things out with us. So again, same question. What did Chris do as Tomo that was different than the original scene? And eyes are in the chat. Or raise your hand and unmic.
Me, Paddy, yeah? No.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He kicked off.
He kicked off, and what was? Yeah, he didn't stand for it, did he? He told both the doctors exactly what who's waving and wants to come
Yeah,
in.
just unmute yourself.
Yeah,
then
if you unmute yourself and yeah.
Hello, it's Fee.
Hiya, Fee.
Hiya. I think the thing he did, I don't like the way of saying he kicked off, because he didn't really kick off. He just asked for some confirmation of how the decision-making process had gone and what were they following that made them make that decision. And he also, when he wasn't able to get a satisfactory response from the worker, he asked to speak to the person who had made the decision.
Yeah, I 100%
So
agree with you.
he sort of followed step-by-step process.
Yeah, definitely. That shouldn't be.
I would dispute that he kicked off, because I think he did it very politely. He said, well, I want to know, can you advise me how that decision was made? Why is that criteria like that? He was just asking questions and asserting his need to have some clarity around the decision-making process.
Matt, can I address that? The man who said he kicked off. Yeah, the thing is, it's if you assert yourself in that way, you just literally end up being viewed as a trouble causer and getting kicked out. So ultimately, although he was absolutely correct to do what he did, it's not going to get you anywhere. And that's why I said, because that would have kicked off. I've seen that situation in job centres and places. If you start that kind of discussion, you never win. So they will have viewed him like, we took our cat to the vet. He had his teeth taken out. He doesn't like the vet, so he swipes him every time he goes. So our lovely cat is on their computer as a psychopath. That's the way he would be viewed next time he comes in. Oh God, it's him again. So yes, there's a fine line between asserting and kicking off, and perhaps he crossed it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I think like we've highlighted the system barriers there that kind of, even if in a lot of people's views he was being assertive rather than aggressive and kicking off. I think the system barrier there is that either way is going to be why you're questioning our medical expertise. Who are you to question our medical expertise? But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, because we wanted to ask, was there any difference in the outcome that he got? Yeah, so ultimately, kind of, he did all those things that we described about, like, kind of challenging the decision, asserting his rights, wanting to know what the process was, but the system still says our medical expertise overrides what you think's going on. So again, like that's when we move into the next bit about policy ideas. Those are like the things in the system that we're looking to change. So we've got time for one more. If anyone else is feeling brave enough to
come on,
got an idea that they want to try out. Alfie's got a hand up. Yeah.
I've got an idea.
Who was that?
Yeah. We've got someone speaking.
Who was that?
Is that Fee speaking?
Hi. Yeah. Hello. Am I right to have a go, or is it Fee?
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a go at the same scenario, same scene?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, she doesn't have her camera on? Can you ask her to turn her?
You haven't got a camera.
Hello. Can you see me?
Thank you.
Hi. Hiya.
Oh, bless.
So, from the same point in the scene, or from a different point?
Yeah, if that's all right. Yeah.
Oh, Matt's very busy. 3,
2,
2, 1, action!
Yeah, so the thing is, because you're so early in your abstinence, we still don't know whether this is a genuine mental health issue or whether it's an after effect of your substance abuse. So if you come back in 6 months' time and you're still experiencing the same issues, we'll be able to help your mental health.
6 months?
Yeah.
That seems like quite a long time, 6 months.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, but the waiting lists are just so high at the moment. So it's, it is unfortunate, but it's just, company policy. That's our rules, and it's partly to do with the substance abuse and partly to do with just how long our waiting lists are.
Right, okay. So if I go on the waiting list for 6 months and I'm guaranteed to be on that list for 6 months, and then I'm guaranteed to get the help that I need, is that right?
Well, it depends, because if you have 6 months of complete abstinence during that time, and we're able to say, like, yeah, this is a genuine mental health issue, then we'd accept you at that point. But if you were to have like lapses and relapses during that time, then we couldn't take you on.
Okay, so is there anything else that I can get in the interim between me having this 6 months until I get the support that I need? Is there any other services that I have access to support me?
Well,
so that
we've got. I'm going to drop you in it here, Jules. We've got our social prescribing link worker out there, and she knows of like some stuff that's out there in the community, voluntary services. They've not got as kind of many waiting lists. So just our social prescribing link worker is going to.
Right, that'd be brilliant. Can I speak to her now? Oh, that's great. What was your name, sorry?
Oh, hi, Jules. Hi, my name's Jules. I'm the social prescribing link worker, as Matt has just said.
Oh, that's great. So I was just wondering if I'm going to get on this waiting list for 6 months, and I think I'm going to get the support that I need, hopefully, but I just need some support in the meantime. So I was wondering if maybe me and you could sit down and put a plan together or something like that, so that I can.
Yeah, that sounds like it might be okay, but I'm a bit short on time today.
Right, okay. Is there another day?
Just the link workers have only got a 3 month waiting list.
Yeah, could you come back next week?
I could come back next week. Yeah, that sounds all right. If we put a date in the diary, and then I'll come back next week, and then maybe we can put a plan together.
Okay, how's the next Thursday?
Sounds lovely.
At 4 in the morning.
I might be asleep.
So thanks for that, Fee, and thanks for that, Jules, dropping you in a new role at the last minute like that. So what did Fee try there that was different to the other scenes?
Hello, it wasn't me. It was it wasn't Fee. It was another.
Fee. Someone else.
Liv. Sorry. Yeah. What did Liv? I thought there were 2 Fees. Sorry. What did Liv try that was different than what was tried in the other scene?
Yeah, you want to read some things out?
Yeah, we've got a little bit more knowledge of the system. Yeah, alternative, compromise, and a little bit more directness.
Yeah.
Trying to pinpoint a plan.
Yeah, pinpoint a plan, have knowledge of the system, knowing that there might be something else other than that kind of medical, intervention or clinical intervention, if you like. So what was different as a result of that? Of of knowing that there might be something else out there in the system and asking for that. What different outcomes did that get? And did it reveal any further barriers in the system? And are there any, how realistic was that in people's experiences? Kind of, do the doctors bring in those like third sector services, in reality?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we've had a suggestion that possibly there should be an advocate.
Yeah, I think I'll just butt in dead quickly. I think it's really difficult to be in that position if you're not already aware of other alternative support that's out there. It wasn't, in my opinion, it shouldn't be that the person that's seeking the help, that's trying to get the help, that should readily know about this other support that's available. It should be that the GP is able to offer this support in the interim to explore the other options, rather than just saying, here's your waiting list, this is what you're gonna sit by. It was only the fact that Liv was able to say, well, what is there else in the meantime? To me, it should have been the other way around, the fact that the GP was to offer that sort of first of all, before she had to seek that advice. So yeah, I think one of the biggest things is the fact that if you don't know about the help, it's not sort of that it's general knowledge that it's out there, that it is there.
Fantastic. And again, if we keep these things in mind when we move into like generating policy ideas, that actually the medical staff, if you like, or the clinical staff, it's their duty to know what other community resources are available, and to, not just, to bring that into the conversation. So I've just been informed that someone wants to do the landlord scene, which I'm relieved is one scene that doesn't involve me. I can go have a sit down now. So
yeah. Claire, let's get Claire. Claire?
Hi. Yes, I'm.
Come on, Claire.
What point in the landlord scene? At the beginning, or?
Anyway, sorry, my internet connection's unstable. Sorry, but I'll give it a go.
Do you want to turn your video off and just do it by voice? Would that work better?
Okay.
Yeah. You do it just with her voice. Is that okay? Yeah? All right, Claire. Do you want to start from the beginning when the landlord comes in, or somewhere in the middle?
Anywhere you like.
All right.
Back at the hostel.
Why don't you start as the landlord when
I walk in.
Sure, when you walk in. Okay. So we're going to start from when he walks in by himself, and let's give him a 3. Okay. Okay. Let's give them a 3, 2, 1.
10.
Who's she? Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Who are you, love?
I'm the landlord.
All right. Hiya. I'm the new tenant here. What's your name?
My name's Jeffrey.
Oh, hiya, Jeffrey. I'm the new tenant here. It's good to see you.
I didn't realise you were here, so I was just coming to do a check on the property.
Right, well,
you've not got much here?
No, I've just moved in from a bed and breakfast. My support worker helped me to move in. I've literally just moved in today.
Yeah, you get spoilt then, don't you, bed and breakfast? We never got that. There's pictures on the wall. You shouldn't have these pictures on the wall. I need them taken down.
Oh, why is that?
Because there's nothing allowed on the walls. Put holes in the walls, and we have to repair them.
Oh, nobody told me that.
Well, I'm telling you.
Am I in trouble? Am I in trouble?
If you keep doing it, you will be. Yeah.
Why? What have I done wrong?
That you're not allowed to put anything on the wall because we put holes in it, and we have to keep paying for it.
Well, listen, mate. I don't want any trouble. I just want to try and. I'm only making the place a home.
I know, but it's still my property. It's still my property.
I know. I understand that. I think you're getting your rent. You're getting your rent. I just want to make this place feel comfortable in a home.
I understand that, but it's in the agreement that you signed up. You know, when you first come in, you signed up with whoever signed you up. It's in there. You can't alter anything. You can't put anything on the walls.
Well, that doesn't seem fair. Have you got pictures up on your walls at home?
There's a lot of things in life that ain't fair, really, isn't there?
I'm just trying to make.
House now, at least you've got somewhere to live.
I'm grateful of that. I am grateful of that. And I was in a really bad place before. I'm just trying to make the place feel comfortable. I know it looked a mess at the moment, but listen, I've just moved in. I was in a tiny room, and I just want to, I know it's all spread out. I'm usually quite tidy.
Yeah, so can I just do this check quick, because I'm very busy, you see, and I've got quite.
Nobody told me that you were coming today. Nobody told me that you were. Are you supposed to just turn up like this?
Well, I'm not supposed to really, but I didn't know you was here, you see, so. I can't let you know if I didn't know you'd moved in, can I?
I'll tell you what, because you've just met me, and I feel like I'm giving you were not getting off to the right foot here. If you come back another time and let me know, and I can show you how I'm keeping my place.
If I leave you this paper, it's a complaints form. You can fill that in and then hand it in later, and we'll sort of, send it to office and let them sort it out.
All right, thank you.
Not really like that.
So yeah, huge thanks to Claire for again being brave enough to step in. So what did Claire try in that role that was different than the original landlord scene?
It's me again. I think one of the biggest things that I noticed from Claire was the fact that, asking questions sort of, do you have pictures up at home? Show that they're absolutely no different to who stood in front of you. At the end of the day, he is the landlord and it is his property. But I rent my property and I've got pictures up, I've got mirrors up in my house, and if my landlord just turned up at my door, and let himself in with a key while I was in the property, I would actually be ringing the police on that, because I would be extremely scared. Obviously, especially if you're more in a vulnerable situation, that you've already got other support needs at that time as well. I can imagine it's a really scary situation. I think Claire's sort of trying to bring it down to a level, and the fact that we are just with the same people, we're all humans. Yes. I think that, it didn't work. And I think it was also, which I've seen a lot again with like the complaints form, it's sort of handed out like willy-nilly, and it almost says complain because it isn't going to go any further, so do what you want with it, and then that's the end of our conversation. So I think that's what I noticed.
Yeah. So we, I think we're going to need to get to a break soon, but yeah, definitely good points. And again, identifying those system barriers that identifying the system barriers that make it difficult for people to assert their rights to landlords, and that's one of them. Like the complaints policies, kind of don't seem to go anywhere. Can anyone think of any other system barriers to people actually being able to, kind of assert their rights as a tenant?
In the chat, anything?
The emphasis in chat is on human. There is a bit of how much access and knowledge can people be expected to, and how's it kind of a distance from the people who need it? Yeah.
I'd like to say that people who are the sort of people that we're helping, very often they don't know which way's up from the rights in the Landlords and Tenants Act and the housing, and same with how they can try and negotiate with doctors and so on, because they've not had training, they've not had need or experience of understanding those laws, and so they don't really know if they've got a leg to stand on by standing up to people.
Yeah. Okay, Paddy, if you got something on the chat.
Yeah, I think we might have just covered that, but it's just around lack of knowledge and tenants' rights and landlord responsibility.
Kind of issue. Yeah.
So again, with both of those things, if we can start thinking about, okay, if that's the reality of the situation, what policy decisions could change that, what policy decisions could put, kind of make sure that people are more aware of their rights and in a better position to assert those rights.
So can I pop in here for a second? Okay. So speaking of that, we're going to screen share for a moment just to remind you of some of those policy barriers, those structural barriers you've been mentioning. So you can see the list, just so it's jogging your thought process. Can you see the list now? Yeah. So take a look at that list for a second. Some of the things that you've mentioned about problems that have been causing or that are behind some of the things we saw in this play. I'm giving you a second to take a look at the list. And now we are going to move you into a breakout room once again. Just before we take a break, you will give you a break actually, before our last section of this process, which is very important. And in these breakout rooms of about 4 people, you're going to have a few minutes to think together about one change, one new rule or practice you would like to see happen in Greater Manchester around mental health services, around hostels, around staffing, around landlords, around dual diagnosis, right? All of those things. Hostels, yep. All of the above. Everything you saw, and it could be something that we didn't try, but you've been thinking about. You're going to come with a few other people, and you're going to try to come up with one policy idea together. So we would like to see something that we've said, right? Tenants' rights, or I'm not going to give it to you, and as specific as you can, and nominate one person in your group to be the scribe, to write that idea down. When we come back from the breakout rooms, that one person is going to enter it into a form so that we have it for our last section of policy making based on everything we've learned and experienced here. So, does that make sense? We'll give you the instructions again. You're going to separate into groups of 4 now, go into the breakout group. We will remind you what to do and make sure you let everyone in that breakout room speak, because all of us are experts on policy based on what we have seen, what has worked in this moment on this stage of real life and what hasn't worked, right? There is no difference between any of us here in terms of what we know that could change and what we can imagine. So make sure everyone in your group gets that chance to speak. So breakout rooms are going to go about 6 minutes. You'll have about 6 minutes. We'll remind you of the time, and you're going to come up with one idea for a structural change together. What would you like to see happen? Go. Hello, everybody. Great. Just waiting till everybody's back for the, can we make sure in the chat that that link is there? Yes, just be ready. Yep. Great. So people are still coming back. This is where we talk about the weather again, right, Matt? The weather is beautiful in Manchester, just like always. Is that what we say? No. It's always a treat. Yeah. All right. Great work. So you've all, that was great, right? You just accomplished more than the Parliament, I think, in that last 5 minutes. Definitely, right? And absolutely more than the U.S. Congress. So we're doing great. All right. So now your one person who knows your idea is going to enter it into the form that's popping up in the chat. Yeah, can you see that form? So if you have your policy idea, if you were in a group and you really have another policy idea that you're burning to enter, you can absolutely do that too. We're not limiting you. So if you didn't get to say one and you want to enter in another one, go for it. But go ahead and pop those ideas into the form. So it'll just say which issue area and then what would you like to see happen. That's the most important bit. And while you are taking a much needed break because you've been working hard, we are going to turn those into the top 3, maybe 4 ideas that we will have our little debate and closing commitments around before we leave today. So is everybody clear on that? You've got the form. Anybody confused? Ask us a question if you need. Enter in your idea. Make sure you submit it. It'll magically come into our room here at Methodist Central Hall. Great. So while you're doing that, everyone who does not need to write a policy proposal, you can just relax, and we're about to take a break. But I will say that while you're taking a break, we're going to be over here. Can we just show our brilliant team? This is some of our brilliant team. Sorry, we've got a brilliant team here, and they're about, yes, let's give them a round of applause. John and Patrick and Jules and Emily and Iran, and they're going to help sort with the actors your ideas into the top 3 or 4 while you're on a break. So once your idea is submitted, you can take about, let's take about a 7-8 minute break. So if we're all back at 4 o'clock ready to go for our last section, and we will hear from our policymakers in that section about your ideas. All right? So submit, take that break, enjoy. We'll see you back in 7 minutes at 4 o'clock. Great work. Yay! More clapping. Can you mute? Hello. Whew.
So we should stand by you as a policy.
Yes, do. All right. It's been very sweaty over here working on your policy ideas. Very messy in the most joyful way. So we're now going to have our policy makers speak to us about these ideas. So just so that we can be clear about who's with us, Chris is with us, yeah? Andrew is with us, Kate is with us, Molly is with us, and Emily is with us. If everyone else, just for this moment, just so we could be clear, could turn your video off so we can see these folks like a little bit of a panel, if you're able to. Yeah, oh, great. Oh, yes, beautiful. This is beautiful. So we have, and then we have Kate, great, okay. So the first idea, we've got some ideas still coming about support staff, but the first idea is around mental health inclusion, specifically around dual diagnosis. So make sure if I don't get anything right here, but I'm going to try. And if we can type into the chat more or less what I'm saying while I'm saying it so people can read it along, that would be great. So to improve mental health support, this is the first policy idea that came from you. We're going to ask you some questions about it. We want dual diagnosis to become normalized and promoted throughout the system, and invest in the dual diagnosis model. So this might mean invest more, because we know that obviously some of these things are already happening, but if these situations are still happening as we saw in the play, then something needs to be increased or changed. And there's another piece about realigning commissioning cycle of services across the 3 major providers of mental health services, a circuit break to, yeah, I see some responses on the screen, to align the commissioning across those 3 providers. Is that right?
Yeah. So there was some comments around doing this.
Hold it up closer. Yep.
Sorry, there's comments around doing this kind of circuit break, so that then services can be realigned across the 3 main providers like GMMH and Pennine Care now.
Great.
But that was a suggestion.
Great. So we have questions for you. We know, Kate, this might be something that's within your area of work, but also other folks who are, related to certainly, commissioning. So the first question is, what would it take to make these things happen? I know there's several points. So dual diagnosis becoming normalized and promoted, investing in the dual diagnosis model, and then this bit about realigning the commissioning. What would it take to make this happen? What might be a challenge? And we're going to be taking notes about everything that you bring up. Go ahead, Kate. Or anyone.
I suppose, just to let everybody know, I'm not a commissioner, I'm a provider. So I'm from Greater Manchester Mental Health Trust, but I'm the head of the operations of the addictions division. So I'm a mental health nurse by background. And dual diagnosis is certainly something that we've been talking about for over 20 years. It is something that remains an incredibly difficult nut to crack in terms of it being a wicked problem. I think if it was easy, it would have been resolved by now. I think it's been incredibly complicated by the fact that commissioning has been completely separated since the Health and Social Care Act of 2012. So we talked in our group, Molly and I, about the whole sort of silo commissioning difficulty. So whilst I work for Greater Manchester Mental Health Trust, I think everybody present today will acknowledge that there is a separation between mental health commissioning, between commissioning for addiction services. it's separate again for services for homeless populations, and it really does not help people navigating their way through those really complicated systems that just don't, they're just not joined up.
Yeah, so what would it take to, as we're saying, to normalize and promote dual diagnosis? And what would be within your or the other folks' ability?
I think there is a lot that is within our gift. So in terms of training and, you know, the ability to enable staff that are working at a frontline level to have a better awareness and understanding of the issues that we've described today. And I think we've seen some examples of you know, pockets of that happening, but I think there's an opportunity to do that in a better, more joined up, consistent way across Greater Manchester. I think that there definitely does need to be national and possibly regional changes, and there is definitely a commitment to lobby for that certainly within the GM mental health and homeless group. So that, and I certainly know that that's something that I've been involved or invited to get involved with.
Great. So there would be definitely that you're saying there's already some ongoing lobbying in terms of the national policy. What, Molly, do you want to chime in there about anything that could be done towards this, or Emily, anything that could be done to move these things forward?
Yeah, so I think current kind of dual diagnosis practitioners that we have across the Rough Sleeper Initiative and Housing First programs, really it's still in early stages, because the work that they do is to get people access to treatment where they are experiencing both mental health and substance misuse issues. However, that treatment is not normally for both mental health and substance misuse. It's just that they have an understanding of both of those issues and are able to help navigate the system. So I think there's definitely some work to be done in understanding what good treatment looks like for people who are experiencing mental health and substance misuse challenges, and making sure that we're really highlighting that treatment and that practice in Greater Manchester.
This point about investing in the dual diagnosis model, what could that look like potentially? We know nobody would be committing to anything, but what could that investment look like in terms of understanding, as you're saying, having more understanding about the treatment?
Kate, I don't know if you think it's a.
I think it's. I know, Katie, when we spoke, you did say there wasn't going to be a particular, you know, kind of on the spot. How can we solve? We're not going to solve this today. That, you know, and to be honest, I know Matt's there behind you. We had a conversation about it just last week. There isn't even an agreed definition of dual diagnosis. And some people don't like the term dual diagnosis. Yeah. Some people prefer the term, you know, if you look at the Public Health England guidance, it's co-occurring conditions. So we need to step right back, really, and have a conversation with, you know, that's much more inclusive, rather than a kind of an assumption that we know what we're all talking about, because it'll be completely different. You know, the literature will say that there is approximately 80% of people in a substance misuse service with a dual diagnosis, and less than 30%, less than 20% in a mental health service. But your definition of dual diagnosis and mine might be very, very different.
So you're saying there's something about
the practice in this space is still so young that I think we need to do some work to prioritise it within Greater Manchester, to understand and maybe try and pioneer some of that definition. What does it mean for our services, and why do we think it's important, and how do we get a position where we're not just navigating through?
Yeah, for the things we're going to be looking at, and I think we still want to push this forward. There's the defining the term. Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Obviously, just following on from obviously what Molly and Kate have said, it's a really complex issue, but I think what we can do as a programme is what Molly's saying already, in terms of start collating that evidence and that good practice of what's going on with the current kind of existing dual diagnosis practitioners, and raising that up and using that obviously with in terms of sharing the good practice and kind of lobbying that obviously Kate and Molly have spoken about.
We can't hear you, Matt.
Oh yeah, we got you. Yeah, so when me and Kate did speak, well, it was at the Housing First board meeting, we were talking about that stuff when some of the stuff that we did when Liv played the role of like, okay, well, if I can't get specialist treatment, what community assets are there? What like peer support groups in my area, and what we can do to look at that and make sure people, because some of the feedback we get is that like like in Bury, for example, there's a few like grassroots like charities that people really get a lot from, but it seems to be a little bit like inconsistent who knows about them and who like actively like makes an effort of, because some people actually take people down there like for the first time like as they're coming out of the the Fairfield ward and stuff like that. So I'm going to stop rambling now and just say, like, is there something specific we can do about looking into that as well?
That was definitely discussed at the. There was a bit of I suppose it was a forum that had been called by Ruth Bromley. I want to say Ruth Bromley.
Yeah, Ruth Bromley.
Yeah, which Helen Simpson was at. It's just a few weeks ago. I was invited to go along to that. There was a guy there from Mind, there was the Mustard Tree, and there was a lot of talk, exactly that, Matt, about, this whole spectrum of, moving away from the fact that it's always a clinical intervention and what is out there in terms of listening around mutual aid, self-help, support, and I would say a sort of asset-based community development model, which we're perhaps quite familiar with across certainly the Achieve services in Bury, Bolton, Salford and Trafford from a substance misuse perspective. And that is definitely an ambition of that group, is to grow that and look at ways that can be more accessible across Greater Manchester.
So could there be, and we're not committing to doing something, but we do want to get, as Matt said, specific ideas about what we're going to look into. We're committing to looking into things, right? So could we commit to look into this asset-based community support model around dual diagnosis, specifically in GM? Could we commit to see what that would take, money, time, etc.? Yeah. I think that'd be great. And then anything, just before we move on to our next policy, thank you for trying to get specific with us. We know it's hard to do it on the spot, and so transparently, so we appreciate that. Anything about this idea of realigning commissioning and the circuit break, right? We didn't kind of get to that yet. Is there anything we could do around that? The commissioning cycles for the three, Molly?
I love the idea that we're using COVID language in our everyday now, circuit breaking. It's a really difficult one. I think we'd have to do it in small chunks. So we might be able to do it if we think about, let's have a circuit break and recommission a specific kind of homelessness focused mental health and substance misuse services at a particular point in time. I think that the very real challenges in these places is that we're constantly just jumping from one fund to the next. And it's not in our control to dictate financial timelines.
But maybe that, looking into trying that chunk of reorganizing the commissioning, that would be something, right? Would that help? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. And it's some things that have been talked about like, actually, could you have something like that wasn't necessarily service specific? So like a lot of people, like in ABEN and other services as well, there's something that they can kind of access, as well as like it just being part of Housing First.
Yeah, again, that's linked into the fact that the additional funding that we have comes tied to programs, and we want it to be embedded within the whole system. But to start with, we have to kind of tie it up to a program. Some really knotty stuff in there, and I think it's something that Kate and I have talked about a lot, which is trying to kind of tidy up the messy commissioning across a whole load of programs.
I can just see that some of the questions that are in the chat are around where does
we're looking at that. Go ahead.
And it might just really be that people, it is really confusing. So the funding for community mental health teams comes from CCGs. The funding for community drug and alcohol services comes through local authority public health teams, which are subject to ridiculous tender processes. So some of you may know that that's why you see such a massive change of provider, which can lead to massive disruptions in service delivery, which then impacts on service users. And then you've got small pockets of short-term funding that can come through GMCA, through the central government. But then there's also NHS England funded services. So, just to add even more complexity, NHS England have just commissioned some national or regional gambling services. So most of addiction sits within the local authority, but that bit of addiction sits within NHS England. So if you're not confused now, it doesn't. It's really very challenging.
Yeah.
Is there not something in that knowledge of services, because the cycle is so short? So even our Brilliant Housing First programme, it's 3 years.
Yeah.
I guess it's what follows next, how one service gets commissioned and how it links into what's already in existence and how it makes itself known, because it is beguiling. Frontline workers won't know what's out there, let alone people who are trying to access service and help. And it can take 2 years for people to find out something's there, only to discover it's about to be closed. So there is about something that the GMCA about longer term commissioning, and about how in the specification things get communicated that they exist even and promoted to people, and to other services, and that joint working. And I think there really has got to be something that we must be able to say something from our learning from this, feeding back to government about that joint working and building it into the commissioning of all services, because it's a nonsense that we're all feeding off each other, or you can't come here, you have to go there to that department, and the poor soul in the middle, which we witnessed this afternoon, doesn't know where to go, and is then end up feeling, well, I'm grateful for anything, because even though there's a completely adequate service from over there, but they don't know about it. I mean, it's frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, 100%. I think just on that, I would just say...
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Next one, go ahead. Yeah. Go for it.
I was just going to say that's 100%. I mean, it's definitely something that government are very aware of, is our position with the funding streams that we have. But it's a core principle when we're talking about kind of reform and creating the kind of public services that actually work for people, aligning both geographic footprints, but also different services in different spaces, making sure that they're aligned so that it's always easy to access. You can always find help and support in your local area, and you can always work with somebody that is trusted and you can have a long-term relationship with. The nuts and bolts of delivering that are extremely challenging, but I think even just reprofiling that principle and demonstrating through things like this, the damage that is done when we don't achieve it is really, really important.
Okay, yeah? So do we feel clear on the specific things we're going to do from this? And we understand totally, again, the magic of this, that's also totally not magic because it's real, is that these things are difficult, and you all, and we're in a lot of bureaucratic systems that can make it hard to make change. So what we're trying to do is within what is possible, push forward towards what everyone here wants, and also start to think about beyond what feels possible right now, right? So even if commissioning is really siloed, how do we do, as you said, little chunks that can maybe help us connect those bits? So we've got some specific things, and we're typing everything up so that we're going to be able to follow up with you on these things. We have 2 more proposals. One is, I think, across a lot of these ideas, neighborhood inclusion, but also, I believe, landlords and kind of, everything around the housing, specifically within Housing First, let's say, first of all. And this is an interesting one, to do sort of a power, an analysis of the power systems in the infrastructure, and resource that from the innovation and reform budget. So to have a power-informed analysis of the infrastructure of landlord relationships, neighborhood integration. Is that something like that? Are we getting that right? Yeah, say a little bit more about it. And this is from the audience. Yeah. so we understand exactly what.
Yeah, I
proposing.
think the gist of that
Yeah.
was to, if the innovation and reform budget was in the hands of the community, it would ultimately lead to them having more design and control over the experience services they might experience and the kind of overall makeup of where they live. So if you change your population who controls that budget, it would have knock-on ripple effects.
So you're saying
that was
kind
the
of
gist of it.
participatory budgeting for the innovation and reform budget that would allow people to decide or think about changes they would like to see in their community for more neighborhood inclusion and more developing relationships with neighbors and landlords.
Yeah, if that was held in a small collective in the community,
Yeah,
as a
wow.
total, it'd be quite a significant power shift, which where I think is the idea about that power-informed analysis comes from.
Yep. So some kind of collective control over that innovation and reform budget towards inclusion and building relationships. That seems to be a new idea. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds super interesting. Have we identified the innovation and reform budget? Is this a thing that...
Is there one, John? Do we know it exists, or do we just hope that it exists?
So there should be an innovation and reform a chunk of money, and that should be in collective control. Okay.
We haven't got, just to clarify, Molly, we haven't got one in Greater Manchester at the moment. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. So we've got a reform investment fund, which is funding from central government, which is tied up to, again, it's all specific programs, which is really challenging. So I think the key would be to build that case around having funding that isn't determined to be spent on things that have already been decided, but could be decided further down the line in the hands of the community.
It could be a percentage of funding, right? It wouldn't necessarily have to be a whole pot. There could be something that, 5% of some program is always set aside for community building among neighborhoods. I mean, neighborhood inclusion, right? And generally, like, inclusion was a big theme that we've been that in our play and that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And it does seem like going back, there does seem to be like, so as Kate said, like Achieve, they have like a community asset budget, and then like some of the CCGs do it with social prescribing, but it all does seem like disparate and separate, and it's just like how we come together around that to give community control. And we were talking, I don't know if he's still on the call, but a few of us were talking with Rob from the Independent Mental Health Network last night. We were talking about ways in which we can, they were saying they work with commissioners in the Health and Social Care Partnership, but how much we could align that to what the ideas that came out of today. So there was like a constant thread there. And as you said, you can't like promise to fix the world, but if you could promise to carry on working alongside like the IMHN and others to to co-create this, whatever it is we can manage, is that something we can look at?
Do you think this is something that go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the work of social housing providers as well, as taking a really self-conscious role as placemakers, they invest a lot in the community and in neighbourhood inclusion as well. So thinking about some of the assets that we have in that space.
Yeah. So the idea here is that there's community design over that investment in order to support inclusion and to redistribute power, which I think is a really interesting one. So it's not just asking someone to invest, but community design. I know that there's a practice that lots of local governments use called participatory budgeting, where there's a set of money put aside, and there's a process and there's restrictions around what it can be used for, and there's a process by which the community members can actually come up with ideas, work them out with the local government, and then have a vote, and whatever they vote on is binding. That happens in Glasgow a lot, as one city in the UK. I wonder also if, I don't know to put you on the spot, but I wonder if the bond board, if the landlords that are part of Housing First could be a part of this in any way in terms of setting aside some funds or otherwise investing in some kind of community designed, inclusion activities or,
I think currently private landlords might find that quite challenging in the current climate. And I guess they're not a homogenous group in the sense they've all got different financial circumstances. Some have got one or two properties. Some have got massive portfolios. So they're in all different financial positions. And with the current situation where people not necessarily for lots of different reasons unable to pay their rent, I think asking them for money for participatory budgets and extras may seem a stretch too far right now. So I think it's about how we get them to engage with the programme and to work with tenants in a more positive way in terms of getting them to see the humanity of the people they actually are housing, and that it's somebody's house rather than seeing it's something that an asset that they own. So I think we probably have to take a slightly different approach with private landlords, because their circumstances are very, very different.
Well, we do have a good landlord scheme that came up in our practice session yesterday that I do want to bring up, and we will bring that up in a second. But just on this bit, since we want to keep moving, I think this is a really innovative idea. So we're talking about that some of the budgets potentially, right, of some of either an existing reform budget or the social housing. Yeah, Molly.
No, sorry, just out loud.
Okay, so some of the budgets that exist around either social housing or the reform budgets, that possibly a percentage could be put aside for a start for community-controlled design of some kind of community-based, community building inclusion activities, right? That the community designs themselves as a start towards redistributing power in those relationships. I think that would be really interesting towards what we're talking about here. Yeah. Could we look into that?
There is some example of that, as Matt's indicated. In the Achieve contract, we have to reserve 2% of the overall budget for the asset-based community development fund, and much of that is about, the whole point is it's about creating sustainable projects within the community that are going to benefit the members of the community, and there's also a small proportion of that that's a personalised budget. So I agree that there's pockets of really good practice going on, but there's a bit of a lack of a joined up approach, really.
So there might be something in terms of what we're going to look into. There can be other models we look to of how to do this. Yeah, Emily, you wanted to say something?
What Molly had mentioned earlier, obviously social housing providers and do a lot around community investment. And I know, for example, like Great Places has just invested quite a lot of money into various communities. Obviously over COVID, there's definitely work we can do in terms of learning at what's gone on. Yeah. And then try and see it, like you say, from a place-based perspective. So all those funding that is going on, so like with by Achieve or by the social housing providers, try and get a bit more joined up. That specific locality, community.
And joining up with the community and some community control.
And I would say that an example of that would be the Living Well project in Salford. If anybody's been involved with that or had any connection, that's definitely an example of a place-based approach.
Cool, thank you. So we have two more ideas, and we're going to keep moving so that we get a chance to end before when we need to. So we did this process last week as a test run, but we came up with a really thorough good landlord scheme that also relates to some of the ideas that came up today. And so since you were talking about that, Andrew, I think we should put that in here. So there was some idea of having criteria to be included as a Housing First landlord. There would be, you would have to have completed some training, regular meetings, and some kind of values-based training, I think, and regular meetings and communication in order to be included. And then there was the idea that if landlords weren't adhering to those trainings in terms of their practices, right, there would be some kind of disincentive, like their rent would be on some sliding scale based on their full participation in that process. I know that might seem a little wild, but it was an interesting idea. Was there any other bits of that?
There was like some.
I think his mic is on.
This was Jules' idea actually. So I don't know if you want to say about like the equivalent of the investors in people. Do you want to?
What was that? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought that like how businesses have investors in people, that landlords could have the same thing. So it'd be that, you know, they treat people with respect. Sorry, I thought you were nodding at me then. Yeah, and they sort of like got awarded. So you'd have like a bronze, gold and silver award type of scheme. And they could like share that on their website, on any letterheads and stuff, so that people would know that when they were going to take them on board, obviously they'd have to jump through a certain number of hoops, so to speak, to get the award. But it'd make them accountable, so that they just couldn't be charging a fortune for really inadequate properties. I just think that might be something that could work well.
No, he's good. He's good. He's got a mic.
Is my mic working now?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
Yeah, we said we'd get, if this was a goer, we'd get people with lived experience involved in like what the criteria for gold, silver, and bronze look like, and in actually assessing where, you know, landlords are up to on that.
So just to reiterate, and then we'll put this to you, Andrew, a good landlord scheme, people with lived experience supporting, creating the criteria for if you qualify as silver or gold or bronze, or, you know, based on how much training and all of this that you completed, and then some sort of accountability mechanism if the folks who had qualified for those levels didn't act in relation to tenants in recording to that training. Anything you can tell us about what you would need to find out, or what might be required to make something like that happen?
I think one of the, I think it's definitely possible, and I know that in Greater Manchester there have been various different initiatives over the years, things like landlord accreditation, different local authorities having different approaches to that, and it obviously takes a little bit of resource and money to get behind it to make it happen. But I think it's certainly worth exploring how a good landlord scheme could work across the city region, most definitely. I think to get landlords to participate, it would the challenge, I think, would be, well, what's in it for them from a business point of view? And I guess that there might be a quid pro quo in terms of the people with lived experience then maybe setting out what a good tenant scheme would be. So to get part of the good tenant scheme, you have to become a good landlord, and therefore there's a definite incentive in terms of accessing information and good tenants. And then there's a quid pro quo to participate. It'd be very difficult to have a sliding scale of rent, because landlords will say, well, I'll find someone else who's willing to pay, and there's always somebody out there needing accommodation, and, you know, with the current pandemic and people losing their jobs, potentially wouldn't necessarily come through our system, as it were. It is about working in a sense, so it's clearly there's something in it for them, and they gain something by going up to a higher standard. So there is something. I think it's worth exploring, but I think there needs to be contribution.
That's great. No, I wanted to ask Emily about the idea of the good tenant scheme in relation to that. What do you think about that? Or is that already in place in Housing First, or what would that look like?
No, I mean, I think we'd have to explore
hold it up a little bit,
we'd need to explore that further as well. But like Andrew said, the most important is that landlord buy-in in terms of what they're going to get out of that scheme then. And this is definitely something that we can commit to exploring. Like I said last week, and I've mentioned before, we've got a board meeting for the Greater Manchester Housing First board at the beginning of November, where we're just going to solely look at ideas generated in this space. And I think that is definitely one that we would want to explore further in that meeting, obviously, as well. But I mean, when last week when we spoke about it, I was like saying, 'cause there was going to be a good landlord scheme, wasn't there? And I don't know where that's up to. I don't know if Molly knows.
There still is. Don't know if Sharon's but
Sharon Pembury was leading on that.
She is, yeah. So Sharon Pembury is leading on that, and there was a whole raft of ideas of things that we could do within that scheme. Again, kind of, we had a stakeholder event back end of last year that kind of tested out the appetite for the different things. We would need local authority investment for some of the things that come with, you know, accreditation and tenancy checks and things like that. So we tested some of that out, and we'll get an update from Sharon on where that's up to, but also what's kind of within the art of the possible, feeding what we've heard today.
That's great. That's really good to know that could build on what's already happening. And I think from our
Katie, I'd like to pick up one of the comments. I think it's from Helen about the people struggling without support to be good tenants. But I think that's the whole point of things like Housing First, is how do we actually, because people who become good tenants become good neighbours as well, and part of, in terms of being able to participate in the wider civic community and be part of the commissioning of local neighbourhood schemes, etc. So I think it is about joining things together a little bit in terms of the help that some people might need to be good tenants, and I think that's a legitimate process as well, actually, because it gives the support workers a clear idea of what they're trying to achieve.
I think, I mean, the first part of this, right, was that this scheme was co-designed by people with experience of homelessness or people who are on the Housing First program. So if that was the case, and that the criteria in that matching program felt healthy and sufficient for the folks in it, then that could be,
and it has to, on the thing about, like, you know, kind of particularly with Housing First, on the principle about, you know, housing and support are separate, you know, like it needs to be, it needs to be really something that doesn't make people feel like all the stuff we're talking about being forced to do budget in schools and being forced out of your boil and egg and all that type of thing. So it needs to, like, you know, kind of actually what's important to people with lived experience about, you know, about that.
And I think the other piece that's just important for us in this process, one of the things that we're doing in this process is identifying that rules and policies are not currently fair and equitable, right? There are power dynamics in those rules and policies. So it's not that everyone is experiencing the same kind of rules and policies. So sometimes we do need to ask some people with more power to take on some different requirements or restrictions first in order to balance the playing field. That's what our play is also showing. So just to put that in there, that's a really important point that we are looking at here, right? Cool. Okay, I think this is great though. I love this idea. I'm very excited about what's gonna happen with that. We have one more idea and then we're done. Well, we're gonna take a little poll if we're almost ready for that. We'll help you. Okay, and then we're going to be done, but we're not going to be done, of course, because we're going to see what we can do to make these happen after today. So the last idea is a lot about staffing. We've heard a lot about support staff training, really important, and that's been coming up in other similar processes and obviously across lots of co-production. But some new things coming up here. To introduce a no surprises policy for within staff, where people are informed of any key changes to their support immediately and can speak to someone before any support continues. And I think we talked about that within Housing First in terms of there's another issue about gender-specific policy for women, but not just for women, really for any tenants who want gender-specific support workers. This could be related to that in terms of support staff, but I wonder if this could be not just Housing First, right, and across, so somehow in coordination across GMCA. A no surprises policy where if there are key changes that, right, service users are informed of those, and that there was also a bit that is in there about trauma-based, training with trauma awareness and values-based training that's definitely come up in other events, and we should talk about that too. Anything about this no surprises policy, and also informed by, holistic and values-based, human-based training. Anybody can speak to that? What could we do around that?
I think it's perfectly reasonable to have no, I wouldn't necessarily call it no surprises, but I would certainly have the sort of like informing people of changes and having a conversation with people about those changes. Sometimes those things are surprises to the employers as well as the providers. So it is, and individuals. So it is about maybe it's about having conversations with people about changes beforehand. So no surprises. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's unreasonable, really. I think it would good practice and only reasonable someone gets told that their worker is changing or moving or leaving or whatever. It's perfectly reasonable.
I think for me, I would describe it as choice and control. Yeah. Two of the things that we need to put back into services so that people feel like, or people do have both choice and control throughout the support that they're on the receiving end of. And I think importantly, this is something that's 100% within our gift as well. So we're working, Greater Manchester is going to be the first area in the UK to have a fully trauma-aware primary care network workforce. And that training is going to spread throughout our different sectors across public service. I think workforce development is something that is super exciting for Greater Manchester and something that's absolutely within our gift to take control of and to inform from a lived experience point of view and make sure that it's up to scratch. And I think it's also one of those things that the more you put into the workforce, that the better they will naturally become, and the more people will work in them for the right reasons as well, and be able to be resilient and last, and we won't see such high turnover. So it's a win-win for everyone in that sense.
Absolutely. I mean, like when we spoke about this last week at kind of the rehearsal, and we were saying about, a no surprise policy. It's a bit of a shame that to me, that's a given. That's good practice. Obviously, people should be being informed of change. It's real, sad situations that we're actually talking about that, but it's also wider. It's not just changes within that service. So we experience a lot of issues, for example, when people coming onto the Housing First programme, that workers are just changed because services hand off and walk away. And that's really traumatising for that individual who's built up a relationship with the service. But then as soon as the handover occurs, it's a quick change of workers and they don't see that person again. So I think it's wider than just changes within a service. It's kind of between services and everything as well.
When I was working in Bedfordshire for the time being, we had in the treatment system, I was managing a service that was all about aftercare and recovery support and peer support. And the treatment provider, just when we first started getting in there, used to say right, we can close them now because we can send them on to this organisation. And people were some of them turned up and said, I've been to you. Loads didn't. Loads just thought I'm not going somewhere with people I've never met, stuff like that. So it was just about improving that relationship and saying, making them aware of the effect, and then saying when you actually start to have that conversation with people about the fact that there might not be in aftercare with their service forever, let's start co-working at that point, because actually then it's not a big shock, and that was quite easy for us to implement.
So does it, last thing, yes, go ahead, Kate, last thing. Sorry, you're on mute though. You're on mute.
It was just to highlight the fact that's a really important point from Matt, because that's about targets, and that's about the fact that the government, with the public health outcomes framework, really drove around successful completions, Matt, which you probably remember. And so the incentive for treatment system services was to get people out of service and keep them out. Whereas conversely, 10, 20 years ago, it was about getting people in and keeping them in. So we need to move away from this target-driven culture. And just to say a little bit about trauma and trauma-informed training, and a little bit of what Molly mentioned, there's definitely a commitment and ambition. I know that certainly within our trust, there was about 400 face-to-face staff trained pre-COVID. I think the bite-size PI, psychologically informed environment training, went online. So there's lots of opportunity to get that. But what I would say is be careful about training, because just doing training and then nothing is a mistake. It's about embedding it. It's about supervision. It's about the continued infrastructure to support. It's not just about a one-off training and everything's okay.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And I think going back to that good landlord scheme, that's where that has a lot of power, something like that, which could, to not just talk about training, right? And so we've been thinking about that across all the issues, that there's some accountability and follow-up. So for the sake of today, I think we have some clear action points on some of these that we want to follow up on. As Emily said, on November 10th, there's the Housing First board meeting, which is committed to doing the investigation and bringing back the information about what we want to do about these things. But we're also going to feed these ideas, I think, into the prevention strategy that's coming, and everything, and everyone else who's here in terms of all of your work. And we'll be able to follow up with the audience on what is happening around those ideas within the coming weeks and down the line. So we just want to get a sense from the folks who are here about where your strongest priority is. So we're going to launch a little poll. You can select one. It doesn't mean you don't want to see all of these happen, but if one of these had to really, really get a lot of investment or energy first, can we launch the poll? So you can choose one And we tried to write them as clearly as we could, based on, you have to remember yep, it's up there, right? The specifics, and we have it written down, but choose the one that you feel you really, really would want to see this happening. This is great. I think we've got a lot of energy towards one idea, which is fantastic. And so you have another good, more coming. Oh, voting is so fun. Voting is fun. Sorry, that doesn't help. I'm in the wrong country. But voting is fun. If anyone else is listening. All right. Great. So, everyone's taking a picture of the poll. Are we ready? Can we publish the results? You think everyone did it? Everyone's very excited over here. Looking at it's very, very tense, very tense. Let's publish the poll so we can see the results. Yes? Yes, end poll and then publish results. Yes, great. All right, so you can see, and the top idea is around dual diagnosis. So we've got 53%. Yep, and the next most popular, although there's a lot of overlap, is the no surprise policy. I see there's no, actually, yes. And then of course the other two also have interest, but there's a lot of energy around normalizing and promoting services around dual diagnosis, and realigning commissioning and all the other little bits and pieces that we talked about that are documented in our notes. So thank you for voting. And thank you to our policymakers. Other folks can come back on video for the last little bit. Thank you for being on the spot with us like that. Everybody, Andrew and Kate and Molly and Chris and Emily. And thank you to the audience for coming up with all those brilliant ideas. And again, we are not going to leave these there. We are going to continue to work on them, and we are going to come back to you with the information that is gathered, and we're going to send out all these notes about what the questions are. And we're asking the folks who are here, the policymakers, to commit to looking into these questions about what can happen on all 4 of these ideas, but obviously also prioritizing your priorities. So, before we go on and finish up, let's also thank the cast. Shout out one of our members, Alexa, who can't be with us today, but is an awesome part of this ensemble. And I think you will be seeing more legislative theater and other things from this group, so stay tuned, because I'm very excited for that. And we want to thank Methodist Central Hall for having us here every week in the most wonderful COVID-safe way. And Ian and our support team here who's been working so hard. And our tech people, Camille and Andy and Dan, who made this all possible. And anyone else we should thank right now? Thank me. So, like we said, stay tuned for the policy proposals, for the recording. We have been recording this for the folks who couldn't be here. Go on Twitter, check out #legislative theater and @GM Housing First. Share your thoughts, your feedback, your photos, whatever you've got. Tell us what you voted for if you want. I know voting is private. And I think that's about it for today. But like we said, this is a practice. So we'll see you back here sometime else to do this some more. Thank you.